Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah.
We always like to go deep on these topics. And today we're tackling self-discipline,
Ooh, self-discipline.
but not just, the kind of basic stuff. We all know that self-discipline is important, but we really want to understand the why.
Yeah.
Why is self-discipline so important, and how do we actually cultivate it?
So more than just willpower.
Exactly.
We often think about self-discipline as this ability to resist anything tempting.
Right, like, I'm just going to white-knuckle my way through this.
Yeah, just pure willpower and grit. But it's really about making choices that align with your long-term goals, even when faced with, the immediate gratification.
So it's like almost choosing the thing that your future self will thank you for.
Exactly.
Rather than just what feels good right now.
Right. It's like, investing in your 401k.
Right.
Even though that, new gadget is calling your name,
Yeah.
you know that in the long run,
Yeah.
prioritizing your future financial security is the smarter move.
Totally, but why is self-discipline so crucial for success? Is it really more important than just natural talent or even intelligence?
Well, research suggests it can be a stronger predictor of achievement than either of those things.
Wow.
You've probably heard of the marshmallow test, right?
Vaguely, yeah. Isn't that the one with the kids and the marshmallows?
Yes.
They get to eat one now or wait for two?
That's exactly it.
Okay.
So they had to choose between eating one marshmallow right away or waiting and getting two later.
Right.
What's fascinating is that the kids who could delay gratification, the ones who waited for the two marshmallows, didn't just demonstrate willpower, they showed an ability to strategize, to distract themselves, and to really focus on the bigger picture.
So it wasn't even just resisting the marshmallow. It was they came up with ways to deal with the temptation.
Exactly. They were actively managing their impulses.
That's fascinating.
And this ability translated into significant advantages later in life.
Right.
So these kids, on average, performed better academically. They had healthier relationships.
Wow.
And were much better at managing stress.
That's really incredible. So it sounds like self-discipline is more than just saying no to things. It's almost like a set of skills that help us navigate all those situations where, our short-term desires clash with our long-term goals.
It's like having a mental toolbox.
Ooh, I like that. A mental toolbox.
Yeah, filled with strategies
Okay.
for staying focused and motivated.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how all this ties together, but I think for me it's always helpful to see things in action. So can we see an example of how self-discipline plays out in everyday life?
Definitely. Let's take the example of someone trying to establish a consistent writing habit.
Okay.
Let's call her Sarah.
Okay, Sarah the writer.
Sarah dreams of being an author,
Okay.
but life keeps getting in the way.
Yeah,
Work, family, errands,
this is going.
the usual suspects. So Sarah keeps putting off writing, telling herself she'll start next month. But, months turn into years,
Oh, yeah.
and her dream remains just that,
It's still just a dream.
just a dream.
Okay, so where does the self-discipline come in? Was it just about finding the time to write?
It was about more than just time management. It was about overcoming her own internal resistance.
Okay, so she had the time, but
Yeah.
there was something else in the way.
Right.
Okay.
And it was about recognizing that even small, consistent steps were better than sporadic bursts of inspiration.
So it was about consistency.
Yes.
Rather than just waiting for the muse to strike.
Exactly.
Okay, so how did Sarah stick with it? Did she just wake up one day and become a disciplined writing machine?
Not quite. She started by setting very specific milestones.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on finishing an entire book, she broke it down into achievable chunks.
Okay.
She committed to writing one chapter a month. And she even scheduled specific times in her week that were dedicated to writing.
So she made it like a regular part of her life.
Yes.
Like a meeting with herself.
Exactly.
And did that work?
Yes, it did. It helped her to create a structure
Right.
that made the task feel less daunting.
Yeah.
She also established a rewards system
Ooh, I like rewards.
to celebrate her progress. So after completing each chapter, she would treat herself to something she enjoyed, like a weekend getaway
Nice.
or a new book.
So she was really using that positive reinforcement
Yeah,
to help her stay on track.
exactly.
But what about those days when she just wasn't feeling it? Did she ever struggle with things like writer's block or procrastination?
Of course.
Everyone does.
But instead of seeing those moments as failures, she learned to see them as opportunities
Oh, interesting.
to adjust her approach. So if she was feeling stuck,
Yeah.
She would switch to a different chapter.
Oh.
Or work on editing previously written sections.
So she found ways to keep moving forward.
Yes.
Even when she was feeling stuck. So that's really interesting. It sounds like flexibility was a key part of her self-discipline.
Exactly. And this is where the real power of self-discipline shines through.
Go.
It's not about being rigid
Uh-huh.
or forcing yourself to power through every challenge.
Right.
It's about learning to adapt,
Yeah.
to find creative solutions, and to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Even if it's in small steps.
I love that. So it really is about more than willpower. It's about having a whole range of skills and strategies that can help us navigate life and ultimately achieve our goals.
Absolutely. And we're just scratching the surface here.
Oh, good, because I want to go deeper.
There's so much more to explore when it comes to understanding and cultivating self-discipline.
I'm hunk already, but before we go too deep, I think it would be helpful to look at other areas of life too. Like, how does self-discipline play out in things like health and fitness? Or even in our careers?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Those are perfect examples of how self-discipline can truly transform our lives.
Great. So let's dive into those next.
Let's talk about health and fitness. You know, it's a great example of how self-discipline can be more about consistency than intensity. You know, we've all been there. You start a new diet or exercise plan, you're full of motivation, and then life throws a curveball.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's a birthday dinner, or you have a crazy week at work, or you're just exhausted.
Totally. Those healthy habits suddenly become like a monumental effort.
Yeah, exactly.
So how does self-discipline help us kind of navigate those moments when our motivation just dips?
It's about having a plan. It's not just about resisting that extra slice of cake, but it's about understanding why you're making healthier choices in the first place.
So connecting to the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Reminding yourself why you're doing this.
Right. One study, actually, in the Journal of Health Psychology, found that people who focused on the positive outcomes of their weight loss efforts, like increased energy or improved mood, were more likely to stick with their plans. It wasn't just about fitting into a smaller dress size.
Yeah.
It was about feeling better in their own skin.
So it's almost like shifting the focus from deprivation to like empowerment.
Exactly. And this is where routine comes in. Having a set schedule for meals and workouts can make a huge difference. It takes the guesswork out of healthy choices, and it really helps build those habits into your daily life.
So it's almost like automating those healthy decisions.
Exactly.
So you're not constantly battling your willpower.
Right. And the research backs this up. A study from the University of Pennsylvania found that people who followed a consistent daily routine, including regular exercise and meal times, were 25% more likely to maintain a healthy weight over time.
Wow, 25%. That's huge.
Yeah, consistency is key.
Consistency is key. Okay, so for those of us who are not exactly morning workout people, does it have to be like a super rigid schedule?
Yep.
To be effective?
Not at all. Self-discipline is about finding what works for you.
Okay.
So if evening workouts fit better into your lifestyle, that's perfectly fine. The key is to find a routine that you can realistically stick to.
Okay, I like that. It's about customizing it to your own life.
Exactly. Now, let's shift gears a little bit and look at how self-discipline impacts career success.
Okay. Interesting.
So think about someone who is incredibly talented, but struggles with distractions at work.
Ooh, yeah.
They might get sidetracked by social media, or non-urgent emails, or even just chatting with colleagues.
Oh, I think we all know that person. Or maybe we are that person sometimes.
Right.
So what separates those who achieve their career goals from those who kind of just get by?
Self-discipline plays a huge role. It's about managing your time effectively, prioritizing tasks, and staying focused on what truly matters.
So it's not just about working harder, it's about working smarter.
Precisely. There was a fascinating study from the University of California, Irvine, and they looked at how people manage their attention in the workplace.
Interesting.
And they found that those who were able to minimize distractions and maintain focus on a single task
were significantly more productive.
Yeah.
And less stressed.
That makes sense. You know, we always think multitasking is like we're getting so much done. But I think it actually ends up being counterproductive.
Right. And self-discipline isn't just about managing those external distractions.
Okay.
It's also about managing our internal distractions.
Internal distractions, what are those?
Things like negative self-talk.
Okay.
Anxiety. Or even just getting caught up in daydreams. These can be just as disruptive as any external distraction.
That's so true. It's like we're getting in our own way.
Right.
So it's about developing that awareness of what's happening in our own minds.
Exactly.
To be able to kind of stay on track.
And this is where mindfulness practices can be incredibly valuable. Even taking just a few minutes each day.
To focus on your breath. Or to engage in a guided meditation to help you train your mind. To stay present and focused.
So you're building that mental muscle to not get pulled away.
And there's growing evidence that mindfulness can actually improve our ability to regulate our emotions and to resist distractions.
That's fascinating. So it's not just about powering through it. It's about cultivating a state of mind that actually supports focus and concentration.
Absolutely. And this ties into another key element of self-discipline, goal setting.
Okay, goals. I love goals.
Having clear, specific goals can provide that sense of purpose and direction that keeps us motivated, even when faced with obstacles.
It's like having a roadmap to get you where you want to go.
Exactly. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people who set specific challenging goals were more likely to achieve them than those who had vague or easy goals.
Interesting.
So the act of setting a goal, especially one that pushes us outside of our comfort zone, can be a powerful motivator.
It gives you something to aim for.
Exactly. But it's not enough to just set a goal and hope for the best.
Right. You gotta do something.
You need a plan of action. So break down those big goals into smaller, manageable steps. Create a timeline. Track your progress. And celebrate those milestones along the way.
So it's like a series of stepping stones.
Precisely.
To get you to the final destination.
And this is where those organizational skills and time management strategies come into play. Prioritize your tasks. Schedule dedicated time for working towards your goals. And eliminate those time-wasting activities that don't serve you.
Be intentional with your time.
Yes.
Make sure you're doing the things that actually are going to get you where you want to go.
Absolutely. And remember, self-discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about progress, not perfection.
I like that.
There will be days when you slip up, when you get distracted, or when you just don't feel like doing what you need to do.
Yeah, that happens to all of us.
And it's not about beating yourself up for those slip-ups. It's about recognizing them, learning from them, and then getting back on track. This is where self-compassion comes in.
So self-compassion, it's like giving ourselves a break.
Yeah, it's about being kind to ourselves.
Yeah.
Even when we make mistakes.
It's like being our own best friend.
Exactly.
Instead of our worst critic.
Self-compassion is about recognizing that, we're all works in progress.
I like that.
And it's about treating ourselves with the same understanding and kindness that we would offer a friend who's struggling.
That's a good point. It's easy to be harder on ourselves.
Right.
Than we would be on anyone else.
It is.
So how do we actually cultivate self-compassion? Is it just about like positive self-talk?
It goes deeper than that. It's about challenging those negative thoughts and beliefs that can really sabotage our efforts. Yeah. So when you find yourself criticizing or judging yourself harshly, just pause for a moment.
Okay.
And ask yourself, would I say this to a friend?
Oh, that's such a good question. Because we would never talk to our friends the way that we sometimes talk to ourselves. Okay, so that's a really helpful reframe.
And research actually shows that practicing self-compassion can improve our resilience.
Interesting.
A study from the University of Texas found that people who were more self-compassionate were better able to cope with setbacks and were less likely to give up on their goals when faced with challenges.
So it's not just about feeling good. It actually helps us be more successful by allowing us to kind of bounce back from those setbacks.
It helps us build that inner strength that allows us to persevere.
So it's almost like self-compassion is a form of self-discipline.
Absolutely. And it ties into another important aspect of self-discipline, which is learning to manage our energy and focus.
Energy management, that's huge.
It is.
Especially in today's world.
We all have limited reserves of willpower.
That's so true.
And it's essential to be mindful of how we're using them.
It's like we have a battery.
Yes.
And it needs to be recharged.
Exactly.
If we just keep using it and using it, eventually we're going to run out of juice.
Right. There was a study from Florida State University, and they found that our ability to resist temptation actually declines throughout the day.
That makes sense.
Yeah, this is known as ego depletion.
Ego depletion. I've heard of that.
Yeah, so as we make decisions and exert self-control, our willpower reserves kind of get depleted, making it harder to resist those tempting distractions later in the day.
So by the end of the day, we have no willpower left.
Right. We're more likely to give in.
Okay, so how do we prevent those willpower meltdowns?
It's about being strategic with our energy.
Okay.
So identify your peak productivity times and schedule your most challenging tasks for those periods.
So do the hard things first.
Exactly.
We have the most energy.
When you're feeling fresh, minimize decision fatigue.
Decision fatigue is real.
It is, by creating routines and automating as many decisions as possible.
So streamline the small stuff.
Right.
So you can focus your energy on the bigger thing.
Exactly. And don't forget about rest and recovery.
Ooh, rest. I like that part.
Giving your brain and body adequate downtime is essential for replenishing those willpower reserves.
It's like hitting the reset button.
Yes. Make sure you're getting enough sleep, taking breaks throughout the day, and engaging in activities that help you relax and recharge.
So self-discipline is not just about pushing ourselves harder. It's about working with our natural rhythms.
Absolutely.
And understanding our own limits.
It's about finding that balance between effort and rest.
I love that. This has been such a fascinating conversation. I feel like I've learned so much about self-discipline and how to cultivate it.
It's been my pleasure. I hope this deep dive has given you some practical tools and insights that you can apply to your own life.
It definitely has. And to our listeners, we encourage you to take what you've learned today and put it into action. Start small, be consistent, and remember to be kind to yourselves along the way. What's one small step you could take today to strengthen your self-discipline? Think about it. We'll be back next time.